Now I must apologise because the first one or two clips in this video was taken quite some time ago. I've only just managed to get enough clips to put this video together, so if you keep in mind the first few clips is going back a little bit. There's just not that much been going on to make a video. Everything's been covered down, the fish are all covered up, so I've not been able to do much. Just bear in mind the first one or two are from a few weeks ago. Well, good morning everybody. I just thought I ought to mention I've just fetched a bit of a chewed up frog out of my RDF. Well, I couldn't believe it. How did it get in there? It's obviously gone down my bottom drain and come out in the sea filter. If it had been dead when it came along the bottom drain, it would have been in the mesh on my sieve, but obviously it must have still been alive. So it's jumped out of the mesh and got down to the pump in the sieve, and that's where it met its doom, going through the pump, but it was still pretty much intact. I didn't show you it because it wasn't very pleasant. I wondered what the heck it was. It was sort of on the bottom in this end. Now the bubbles you see is I've just dropped a Vircon tablet in there because it didn't look very healthy. I'm not quite sure how long it had been in there. I've only just noticed it. I mean, it could have been in the drum for a while floating about. I don't know. So I thought I'll do what I can. Like I say, I've dropped a Vircon tablet in there, hoping that'll sort it out. That should sterilise it a little bit. I'm just hoping it doesn't hit my moving bed too hard. I've only put one tablet in, so that will dissolve in there, and I'm hoping that won't give me any problems. So what I'm going to have to do to stop that happening in the future is somehow block it off so anything that gets in there can't get into the pump. I'm going to have a look at that and modify that. You don't want dead frogs in your pond, they can cause all sorts of problems. But anyway, I found it, netted it out, so I'm hoping the Vircon will just sort it out. Really not what you want, especially this time of year. You see, my water's not cold. It's at 14 degrees at the moment. If I can show you. We're holding 14 at the moment. So it's not cold enough to kill off any bacteria or anything. Anyway, we've got it out. I'm going to let that tablet dissolve in there and hope that sorts any problems it might have caused out. So I still have to keep my eye on my fish for a while, because like I say, they can cause all sorts of problems, a dead frog. Live ones can cause parasites and things. Anyway, we've got it out now and it's all dealt with, thank goodness. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. Okay, what we will take a quick look at is the cost. So up to yet, and it's now nearly January the 1st, it's cost me £60.67, which I don't think is too bad at £60.67. The amount I've had it on, I actually had the heater on, if you remember, before I'd put the covers on, just to make sure it didn't drop below 13 degrees. So it's been going several weeks now and it's cost me £60.67p, and we've been through that really cold spell as well. So it was freezing cold for about a week and a half. That's not bad at all, I don't think. And that's holding the pond between 13.5 to 14 centigrade, which I'm quite pleased with, really. Well, good morning everybody. Roll on spring. I love it when we get past the new year. We're counting down the days now to spring. New Year's the day that I really start to count down. What I'm doing today is, as you can see, I've got my big brush out. What I want to do is take a couple of panels off and just sweep over the bottom of the pond to make sure everything's clear. I can't vac it out, so I'm just going to sweep everything towards the bottom drain and get that done. I've got my skimmer lid up. I'm topping it up at the moment and I've just run out of dechlorinator, so I've got to go in the shed and mix some dechlorinator up. I'm taking the video from this way because the sun's really low in the sky. It's really nice to see a bit of sun because we've had nothing but rain just lately. But we'll have a quick look in the filter house see what we can see in here. I'll pop the light on. It's getting a bit windy out there as well, so I'll start to get a move on, I think, out there. Right, I've got my boiling water and I've got my sodium thiosulfate, so we're going to pop that in. Pop that in there and give it a good stir. And there we go, that's another litre of dechlorinator. And I'm still on the same packet I paid £11 for. This has got to be the 6th litre I've made, and I think there's still enough left in the packet to make another litre, so you can't be off it. Oh, thank goodness. That's just the top up finished. So what that's worked out to, it's dirt cheap. For those of you that didn't see or haven't seen the video of how to do this, just look back. The video's titled Saving a Few Bob, or How to Save a Few Bob. So if you have a look back at that, it'll show you how to make it, it'll show you what you want, and that's it. It's all dissolved, all done. I have my, just bear with me, my thing here that it's going to be put in, so I can add it to the pond. I shall put it into that. One of these costs £17 on eBay, and I've made at least 7 of them for £11. Major saving. So there you go. If you want any dechlorinator, sodium thiosulfate, you'll find it on eBay. It's about £11 for a bag. Now what you will notice as a new addition in my RDF is I've got a couple of air stones in there. I was getting, as you do with all RDFs, don't know whether you can see down there, it's a little bit dark, but as you do with all RDFs, in the dirty end on the bottom, because there's no movement down there, I was getting a little bit of settlement. So what I've done is drop 2 air stones in it. I've run them through the end of the RDF and down to the bottom. They're 2 50mm air stones, the round ones, and what I'm running it on is this little aquarium pump up the top here. I mean, this thing is dead quiet. It's HDOM or whatever, HIDOM or whatever that is, I'm not sure. It's 605, HD 605. It's variable, it's adjustable, and it's just putting that little bit of air in there and keeping everything circulating in this end. I think it's about 5 watt, I'm not sure. It was about 5 or 6 watt, I think. But I just run that in there, and then I turn it off for 2 or 3 days, and then I'll flick it on for a day, and it just cleans all that bottom out. I hope you can see how clean that is down there now. And like I say, I was getting a little bit of settlement in there sitting on the bottom, and that's cured it. So I shall run it for the day and then switch it off for 2 or 3 days and then switch it back on just to clear it up again. But that's how that works, and to be quite honest, it's working quite well. What I'm doing is just going to have a look inside my drum filter, see how clean it is. The actual, it's not too bad actually, seeing as we don't get in there very often. Just have a look round. This is the easiest way to do it. So have a look down this side if we can. As long as I don't lose my phone in it, I should be fine. A little bit dirty along there, I might get the brush and just clean that out. But mainly clean in there, I'm quite pleased with that. Like I say, on them bits on the actual waste chute, I'll get a brush and clean that off. But apart from that, it doesn't look too bad in there. I've got the air running in this side just to keep it clean. There's a little bit of dirt there I want to clean off. But yeah, not too bad, so I'll leave that for another day. I haven't found any more frogs in my filter lately, so that's a plus for the whole thing. So I'm trying to make sure I don't get any more in there. But anyway, all's good in the RDF for now. Okay, I've got the top off and it doesn't look too bad at all in there, to be quite honest. I don't know whether you guys will see anything, but we don't look too bad at all. They've come to see what I'm doing. I've never had this one off. So they've all come, they're all inquisitive, want something to eat, I should imagine. I'll give it a do-over now, taking it off anyway. I'll just give it a quick sweeping over, get that out of the way, and then I'll be back with you. Well, that's it guys. To be honest, I haven't stirred a lot of anything up. I was quite surprised, there's very little on the bottom there, so I was very surprised at that. And stirred it all up. It'll now eventually get into the bottom drain if there was any stuck around the edges. I've been around the edges and behind that airstone and around the lily, and there's very little, so I'm quite pleased about that. Well, good morning. And well, it's nearly dinner time, to be honest. What a morning. It's a bit more like something out of Halloween here. I don't know how well the camera will pick them up, but there's frozen cobwebs everywhere. The trees are frozen. It's still just over 2 below here. Oh boy, it's cold out here. Poor old heater's freezing up. It'll be alright, it'll defrost in a minute, clear itself and it'll be off again, but everything's frozen solid. Look at that tree. I don't know whether you can see it. Let's see if we can get in a bit. Every branch on it is frozen solid. We need this like a hole in the head. This is when I'm thankful I've got my pond heated. Look, I don't know whether you can see it, but all these cobwebs. It looks like we're having a Halloween night here. They're hanging from everywhere. Everything's frozen. Wow, it is cold out there. I've come into the filter house, as you can see. It's a little bit warmer in here. I've got 13.2 in here. The pond's at 14, so the heater, it's running at the moment, but it'll be cutting out any time we've reached the 14. As you can see, running costs at the moment, this is for last year and up to now, is £105. So that's not bad, I don't think, because we've had a really bad week or so, a week or more already of really cold weather, and now we've got it again. So my total costs up to now over what, November, December and well into January is £105. So I'm not too bad about that. That's not too bad at all, I don't think, knowing that all my koi are safe. I mean, the dangerous temperature for koi, if your pond gets down to 2 degrees, that's when it gets dangerous for your koi. It's not good, because although your water's not frozen, your koi can actually freeze on the inside. If they're not doing a lot of moving about, which they don't, their insides can start to freeze around the 2 degree mark, 2 centigrade. Their insides can actually freeze, and that's where you get your problems. I think even if I didn't heat my pond and let them have a winter, I would still have an inline heater on there as a backup, because if it started to get below 4 degrees, well then I would have a heater to keep it around the 4 degrees mark. I wouldn't want it dropping any lower than 4 degrees, because that's when problems can start. That's when it gets a bit dangerous. So like I say, I think I'd still have an inline heater that cut in at sort of anything below 4 and kept it at 4 or just above. Let's face it, mine's cost me £105. You can't buy a decent koi for that sort of money. It's, you know, if you save one koi, it's paid for your heating, isn't it? But there you go, that's how I look at it. That's just my point of view. I'm not saying everybody should do this, but that's just what I do. Well, hi, what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just chopping a few prawns up. It's treat time for the koi, Sunday treat. And we normally buy a pack of these king prawns a week. I have half and the koi have the other half. We do share them, but boy do they love them. And if I tend to chuck them in a hole, the big ones just tend to get them and the little ones don't get any. So what I found it best to do is just chop them up into bite-sized pieces and then chuck them in all at once, and then they all come, and the little ones get a lot more than they usually do if I just leave them in bigger bits. So they do get the share basically, but they absolutely love them. So I'm just going to finish cutting these up and we'll chuck them in the pond. Okay, it's a lovely sunny day here today. I've got the prawns, they're all down here. I'm sorry if the wind's up, it's not good here wind wise, but they're all circling. I think they know what's coming. They're all circling round. They will absolutely go mental for these, but if I do it all at once, at least the little ones stand more chance of getting some. They absolutely love them. That's their weekly treat. They get half my prawns. They don't last long, that's it. They're gone. Well, most of them, I think. They've had them, they're munching away on them now. But like the smaller ones get some as well this way. They'll never be searching around for anything that's left. The old Orf, if I left him, he'd have the lot. He would just devour everything. Old Sid manages to get his share. The old Shisui, he does manage to get his share. But as you can see, they're gone in seconds. They don't last 2 minutes. So there you go. That's their little treat for the week. They're chewing on the prawns now. It's a lovely sunny day here today. Absolutely beautiful. Got to 15.5 I think it got to today. Really good. As you can see, I'm down the other end of the garden. The sun is really low in the sky, but it's blasting away from the other end. So I'm well out the sun at the moment. I've got the top up on the pond. It's a lovely warm day here today, so give them a bit of fresh air. So I've got one cover up, but beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And everything's in bud at the moment. Everything's coming out lovely. Even the old pom-pom bush. Only planted this last year. And look at all the buds on that that's coming out. I hope you guys can see them, but they're everywhere. It's smothered in them. That should come nice this year. Of course, where it is, it's just going out of the sun. It gets the sun all morning, so it loves it there. It does really get on well there. There's loads of shoots and buds coming on everything there. The old baby tears, I've had it covered this winter. If you remember rightly, I covered it over when I covered my pond over. But it has gone ballistic. It's taking over the whole of that little bog filter or whatever we call it. I don't know whether you can see down the front of it, but it is growing everywhere. You might just be able to see it under there. It's growing over the front of that bog filter. So I can't wait to get that uncovered, see how that does. As you guys can see there, we had 15.8 today. We're down, it's dropped a degree. We're down to 13.9, 14 degrees. We did get 17 yesterday, but it's not been that cold through the night. If you look at the bottom figure, 7.1, that's as cold as it got. The night before, it only got down to 10 degrees. So, quite mild. But I'm afraid it is coming cooler after Wednesday. Today's Sunday. So, later on in the week, about Wednesday, it is coming a little bit colder. Around the 8 degree mark during the day, they reckon. So roll on, spring. Okay, well I did mention earlier that I want some new filters in there. Definitely looking grubby. It's not really showing it up on the video, I don't think, but I've got 3 new ones anyway, so I'm going to bang them in. They've done a fair bit of work, that has, so it'll be time. The carbon will be getting a bit useless now, I should imagine, so I'll get them off and get them changed over. That'll be another little job this spring. Get us started off on the right foot. We'll get them changed first. Well guys, I think you can tell the difference now. I've got them all in. Now what I've done is that you've got to flush these for about 5 minutes to flush them out in case there's any carbon dust or anything floating about. So you do have to flush them out. So what I've done is where it comes out of the dechlorinator, I've come down, and at the back there's a valve, so I've shut that valve which will send the water this way, and I've opened that valve, which it goes along the back and out to waste. There's not a lot of point in putting it on the garden at this time of year because it's absolutely sopping out there at the moment. So if we switch her on. Okay, sorry guys, I had to nip out. I forgot to turn the outside tap on, but it's running now. It's flowing through and it comes out here. You see there's a lot of air and everything still coming out at the moment, but that'll stop once it gets there out the canisters. But I shall leave that running now. This runs for 10 minutes. I've got it running off my clock, my timer in there, which is my pond topple. I've got it running off that, so that'll go for another 10 minutes. So I shall leave that running till it stops, and then we can start thinking about topping the pond up again. So that's it, all up and running. I don't see any leaks. Don't see any leaks coming from it. A little bit down there is what I did spill when I undone the canisters, but I think we're all dry. We're all dry under there, so that's good. So we'll just let that flush and then we'll switch it back over to the pond. So I'll be back later. Another little job done. Right, another little job that I'm on with at the moment. I've got my Varesco out. Now I don't know whether you guys can remember this. I used this last year and it did a brilliant job. Basically what it does is keep your algae down by taking the nitrates out of the pond. So it keeps algae down and lowers your nitrates. And I found it very good last year, so I'm going to do the same again this year. It's not very cheap, I'm afraid, but it comes in a 10-gram pack. I can't remember how much it was, but I wouldn't think it's any cheaper than it was last year, but it is quite expensive. It comes in a 10-gram pack and I want 3 grams of it, so I'm going to weigh out 3 grams. I've got my watering can full of pond water. I've got it up here so that I can use, I just borrow the air stone that I have on my RDF. I should just put that on to keep it circulated. I shall leave it there for a couple of hours at least to give it a good turning over and a good stir in, and then I shall add it to the pond. So this year will be the test. We'll see how we do for algae and will this hold it back. I found it very good last year. In one or two of my videos I did show you my algae dying back. So I'll get an early start on it this year and we'll get this in the pond. Just bear with me, I'll get it weighed out. Okay, I've got it weighed out, so I'm just going to put the air on. I'll put the air on into the watering can, so that's bubbling away nicely. Make sure it's turned up full, yeah. So now I'm just going to add this to the watering can, if I can do it without getting it everywhere. Looking down the camera is not easy. So it's in there. So now I'll just get something, I don't know what, just bear with me, I'll get something just to give that a stir. Right, got a bit of pipe here. I'm just going to give that a quick stir, make sure it's all gone in. Make sure it's all down there. Okay, put that back. Jolly good, it's in there. I'll leave that there. I'm going to leave it there for 2 or 3 hours. Give it a good stir in so it goes really into the pond water. We'll stick it in the pond. Now what I did forget to video, I did through this winter, I actually got my upflow. I do like this running, I don't like this not running. I did actually get my upflow running and piped it to the actual backy shower. So that makes the water going through the backy shower obviously filtered, which I've been trying to think of something to do for a long while. So I have actually got that running that at the moment, just to see how things go. So my upflow is running and it is feeding the backy shower. Just a couple of 90s and just a short length of pipe, and it sorted that out. If I wanted to do it permanent, I'd have to take the end off this shelf and just bring it straight down, which would be a lot easier. But then I've got to move the bracket of the shelf over to here, which makes it so it's not easier. So it's either take it through the shelf. I could put a hole in the shelf and just drop it straight through and into there. That'd probably be the easiest. Just cut a hole in the shelf. But anyway, as you can see, it's on there, it's up and it's running well. I'm actually moving more water through it than I was. It's doing quite well. The pump's on 70%. It's a 10,000 litre an hour and I'm running it at 70%. And as you will see, that's the flow we've got in there, which is quite good. I could even turn it up a little bit more if I wanted. So that's a good amount of water going through there. You can tell it's more flow because it actually fills the tube on the upflow filter a lot quicker than it was doing. So we're obviously moving more water. But that's what I did. I've got that running my backy shower. Well guys, that brings us just about to the end of another video. It's a bit longer one, this one, but that's because I haven't put one out for a while. It's this koi keeping, it gets in your blood, you know. Anyway, I'd just like to say, you all take care, thanks for watching, and as always, happy ponding.